It was a cold and quiet morning when the sound of soft whimpers echoed through the empty streets. A broken German shepherd lay near an old, half-collapsed shed, his body shivering from the cold and his eyes reflecting pain that words could never describe. His fur was dirty, matted with mud, and his paws carried the marks of a long struggle. Every time someone tried to get close, he growled, not out of anger, but out of fear. The villagers had seen him for days, wandering near the same spot, refusing food, refusing warmth. They said he must have been beaten, abandoned, perhaps even betrayed. Children threw stones at him, some out of fear, some out of curiosity, and the dog would run a few steps, then stop, as if he had nowhere else to go. People began to avoid the place. He's dangerous, they whispered. He bites. But no one noticed that behind those frightened eyes was a soul that had simply lost trust in humans. Days passed. Rain fell again and again, soaking the ground where he slept. He would curl up under the broken shed, trembling, listening to the sound of thunder. Sometimes, he'd look up, as if expecting someone who never came back. And then, one day, everything changed. It was a Sunday morning, when a little girl, no older than 7, came walking down the muddy path with a small red umbrella. Her shoes were soaked, her dress a little torn, but her eyes were full of light. She noticed the dog lying there, motionless, soaked to the bone. Instead of fear, something else rose in her heart, pity. She stood there quietly for a moment. The dog raised his head, eyes locking with hers. A low growl came from his throat, warning her to stay away. But the girl didn't move. She just tilted her head and smiled gently, as if she could hear what his heart was trying to say. "Are you hurt?" she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. The dog didn't answer, but something inside him shifted. No one had spoken to him like that before. He expected stones, shouting, pain, not kindness. The villagers nearby saw her and shouted, "Stay away, child. That dog will bite you." But the girl didn't listen. She slowly stepped closer, her little shoes sinking into the wet earth. The dog tensed, his body ready to defend itself, but he couldn't look away from her. There was something different in her. Something pure. Raindrops slid off her umbrella and landed softly on his fur. She knelt down, still a few feet away, and placed a small piece of bread on the ground. "Here," she said softly. "You must be hungry." The dog stared at the bread, then at her. His instincts screamed to back away, to protect himself, but his heart whispered something else. Slowly, cautiously, he crawled a few inches forward. The girl didn't move. She just smiled. The kind of smile that melts through fear like sunlight through clouds. He sniffed the bread, then looked up at her again. For the first time in a long time, his eyes softened. The girl noticed and whispered, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." Minutes passed in silence, just the sound of rain, the smell of wet earth, and two souls quietly meeting in understanding. Then, the unthinkable happened. The dog took the bread. He ate slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. The girl's smile widened. She reached out her tiny hand, trembling, and waited. Everyone watching held their breath. The dog leaned forward, his nose touched her fingers. He didn't bite. He didn't growl. He just stayed, and for the first time since his world had fallen apart, he trusted again. But what the little girl didn't know was that this dog had a past darker than anyone could imagine, and soon, that past would come back, not to hurt her, but to test the bond they had just begun to build. The next morning, the little girl returned. The rain had stopped, and a soft golden light filled the small street where the old shed stood. The air was still cold, but something about that place felt warmer, maybe because of her presence. The German shepherd was lying exactly where she had left him. When he saw her, he didn't growl this time. He just watched quietly as she walked closer, holding a small box wrapped in a napkin. "I brought you some food," she said softly. "Mom didn't want me to, but I couldn't sleep last night thinking about you." The dog tilted his head, his ears twitching. His fur was still wet and rough, but his eyes, they had changed. That sharp fear had faded, replaced by something softer. She placed the food near him and sat cross-legged at a little distance. "You look like a soldier," she giggled quietly. Strong but sad. The word soldier struck something deep inside the dog. He lowered his head, as if the sound reminded him of something, or someone. His tail moved slightly for the first time. That tiny movement made her laugh, a sound so pure that even the birds seemed to stop and listen. From that day on, she came every morning. Sometimes with bread, sometimes with scraps from her own lunch. The villagers watched from afar, shaking their heads. "She'll get bitten one day," they murmured. But day after day, nothing happened. The dog never barked at her again. He began to wait for her, his ears perking up at the sound of her little footsteps. One day, the girl's father followed her secretly. He had been worried after hearing the villagers' warnings. Hiding behind a tree, he watched his daughter kneel beside the big dog and stroke his head. The dog didn't move, didn't resist. He simply closed his eyes, letting her fingers touch the fur that once shivered in fear. Her father's heart melted. He couldn't understand how his daughter had done what grown men could not. She had reached a place no one dared to go. The dog, over the next few weeks, began to heal. His wounds scabbed over, his fur started to shine again, and every time the little girl came, he wagged his tail. He even began to follow her to the edge of the street before stopping, as if afraid of crossing some invisible line. Then one evening, everything changed again. The girl didn't come. The dog waited all day, pacing restlessly near the shed. The sun went down, the moon rose, and still, there was no sign of her. He whined softly, walking to the end of the road, sniffing the air, searching for her scent. Night after night, he waited. The villagers noticed. Her family's moved away, someone said. Her father got a new job in the city. But how could the dog know that? To him, she had just disappeared. The only soul who had ever looked at him with love, gone without a goodbye. Days turned into weeks. The dog refused to leave the shed. He stopped eating again, stopped responding to anyone. The spark in his eyes faded, replaced once more by that deep, endless sadness. Until one afternoon, a truck stopped by the road. The driver stepped out, a man in a uniform. The dog's ears shot up. He knew that sound, that scent. The man knelt down, calling softly, "Rex." That name, the name from his past, echoed in his head like a distant dream. He froze. His tail twitched. The man came closer, eyes filling with tears. "Rex, it's really you, isn't it?" The villagers gathered around, whispering. The man explained that he was a former army trainer. The dog had once been a K9, a brave soldier who had saved lives in war. But during a mission, Rex had been caught in an explosion. Everyone thought he had died. Somehow, he survived, but when he returned, no one claimed him. The trauma had changed him. He no longer trusted humans. The man tried to call him again. "Come on, boy, let's go home." But Rex didn't move. He just looked at the empty path where the little girl once walked. His eyes said it all. Home was where she was. The man understood. He sighed and said, "You're waiting for her, aren't you?" He left some food for the dog and quietly drove away. And so, the days continued. The little girl was gone, the soldier had left, but Rex stayed, guarding that empty street as if it held the last piece of his heart. Until one day, something changed in the wind. A small voice echoed from the distance, soft, shaky, but familiar. "Rex, is that you?" His head snapped up. His ears pointed forward. That voice, it couldn't be. He ran, faster than he had in months. The villagers turned in surprise as the big dog sprinted toward the voice. And there she was, older, taller, wearing a school bag, tears running down her cheeks. She dropped her bag, knelt to the ground, and opened her arms. "I came back for you." Rex leapt forward, whining, tail wagging uncontrollably. He pressed his head against her chest, crying in his own way, that deep, broken sound of relief and love. The girl hugged him tightly. "I told you I'd come back." The crowd that once feared him now stood in silence, watching a miracle of loyalty and love unfold before their eyes. For a moment, the world stood still, a girl and her dog, reunited after pain, distance, and time. But fate had one last turn waiting, a test that would show just how deep that bond truly went. The bond between the little girl and Rex had grown stronger than anyone could understand. Wherever she went, he followed. He would wait outside her school, tail wagging, ears perked, until she came running to hug him. The villagers who once feared him now smiled whenever they saw the two walking side by side. Rex had found his reason to live again. And the little girl, she had found her guardian. But happiness in life often hides behind fragile walls. One stormy night, when the winds howled through the village, destiny decided to test the bond they shared. The little girl's home stood at the edge of the old street. The rain came down hard, lightning flashing across the sky. Her parents were away visiting relatives. She was alone inside, wrapped in a blanket, when she heard it, a faint barking sound outside. She rushed to the door. Rex stood there, drenched, barking toward the forest line beyond the road. His instincts were screaming. The girl opened the door. "What's wrong, boy?" she asked, worried. Rex barked again, louder this time. Then she heard it, faint cries, human cries, coming from far beyond the trees. Without hesitation, she grabbed a small flashlight and followed him. The rain soaked her dress, her feet slipped in the mud, but Rex kept barking and running ahead, guiding her through the darkness. After a few minutes, they found a small motorcycle lying in a ditch. A man was trapped beneath it, injured, unconscious. The little girl gasped, her heart pounding. "Rex, help him," she cried. Rex pulled at the man's sleeve, dragging it with all his strength until the weight shifted. The girl used all her might to pull the man's leg free. Together, they managed to move him out of the ditch. The girl covered him with her shawl. She didn't know it then, but that man was the same soldier who had once trained Rex, the one who had found him months ago. She tried to wake him. "Sir, can you hear me?" But he didn't move. Then Rex did something the girl had never seen before. He ran back toward the village, barking as loud as he could. He stopped at the main road, barking again and again until someone noticed. The villagers came out with lanterns and followed the sound. They found the girl shivering beside the unconscious man, Rex standing guard beside them, his eyes alert despite the storm. The man was quickly taken to the hospital. The villagers looked at the dog in awe. The same dog they had once feared had just saved 2 lives. The next morning, the sun rose over a quiet village washed clean by the rain. The girl was asleep on the porch, her head resting on Rex's back. When she woke up, she saw the soldier standing nearby, bandaged but smiling. He knelt down and patted Rex's head. "You saved me again, my boy," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "You were always a hero." Rex wagged his tail softly. The little girl looked from the man to the dog, confused. "You know him?" she asked. The soldier smiled. "He used to be my partner. We served together in the army. I thought I lost him in an explosion, but I guess he found the right person to heal him before I could." The girl hugged Rex tightly. "He's mine now," she said innocently. The man smiled again. "I know. He belongs to both of us now, to love, not to war." From that day, Rex became more than just a pet. He became a symbol of hope in the village. Children who once ran away now came to play with him. The villagers who once whispered in fear now spoke his name with respect. But time, as always, moves on. The little girl grew up. Her laughter turned into teenage smiles, her schoolbag into books, her dreams into plans. And Rex grew old. His fur turned silver, his pace slowed, but his eyes never lost that light, the same light that had been lit by a child's kindness years ago. One cold morning, the girl, now a young woman, woke up to find Rex lying peacefully beside the porch. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow. She knelt beside him, tears already forming. "Hey, it's me," she whispered, touching his paw. "We made it, remember? You're safe now." Rex opened his eyes, faintly wagging his tail. His gaze met hers one last time, a gaze full of gratitude, love, and peace. And then, it stopped. The girl buried her face in his fur, crying softly. She felt like she had lost a part of her heart, but deep down, she knew he hadn't left. He had simply gone to rest beside all the souls he once protected. That evening, the entire village gathered. They buried Rex under the old tree near the shed where it all began. A small stone was placed with his name, Rex, the dog who trusted again. Years later, that girl, now grown, would often sit beside his grave, reading books, telling him about her life, her dreams, her family. And every time a gentle breeze passed through the leaves, she would smile. Because she knew, he was still there, watching, guarding, loving. The villagers say that sometimes, during rainy nights, when thunder rolls and the wind whispers through the streets, you can still hear a faint bark near the old shed. And if you listen closely, you'll hear the laughter of a little girl echoing with it, a reminder that love, once given, never dies. That day long ago, a wounded soul met a kind heart, and together, they healed each other. And maybe, just maybe, that's what every broken creature is waiting for. Not rescue, not pity, but the gentle touch of someone who truly sees them. Because sometimes, all it takes is a little girl to teach the world how to love again.